All right, y'all go sit down. Philosopher Lao Tzu once said, "Give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime." This quote was intended to mean that it's better to teach someone to do something than it is to do it for them. While I do agree with that, I will say that teaching a man to fish will never guarantee that he's going to catch a fish, let alone enough to feed him for a lifetime. Any seasoned fisherman will tell you there's a reason it's called fishing, not catching. I've had a love for fishing for as long as I can remember. I can still remember the first bass I caught by myself. I can't remember how old I was, probably 7 or 8, but I can remember the place, the bait, and how it made me feel. It was Stewart's Lake in Pollock, Louisiana, and the bait was a black and blue crawl worm made by Cream Lure Company. Uh, I was on the opposite side of the lake than my parents. Why a 7 or 8 year old was on the other side of the lake, I don't know. But when I caught the bass and got him in, I just remember running around the lake to the other side to show him, and I was just so proud. Today, I'll go over 3 basic things needed to fish for fun. First is the rod, reel, and line. Second is the baits. And third is a positive attitude. Let's start by looking at what connects you to the fish: the rod, the reel, and the line. There are many types of rods and reels. Some are as simple as a cane pole and a string and very inexpensive, while others are complex and outrageously expensive. I'll start by going over just a few components that make up a rod and reel. So, this is a bait caster or an open face. It's usually used for bass fishing or larger fish. But some of the parts of the reel, or the rod, are the butt, the handle, the reel seat, the blank, and the eyes. There's several different strengths of rods. They call it the action. There's heavy, medium heavy, light, medium light. Typically, the stiffer the rod, the heavier the cover you're going to be fishing, and the larger the fish you're going to be going after. The lighter the rod, the smaller the baits, it's more of a finesse presentation. So the reel seat is where the reel connects to the rod. Like I said, this is a bait caster. You have some adjustments on it. Magnetic brake control that keeps you from backlashing. Now, backlash is when you cast your bait and the bait hits the water, stops moving, but your line continues to come off the reel. It'll fuzz up, make a big mess, and every fisherman knows how aggravating that can be. You also have centrifugal control, which also helps control backlash. The reel handle, which obviously winds in the line. And then you have drag control. You can adjust this. This is what helps you fight a fish. If you feel like you're about to break your line or the fish is pulling too hard, you can loosen the drag. And it allows line to peel off of your reel without breaking. So once you've chosen your rod and reel, it's time to select a bait. Baits are broken into several different categories. There's hard baits, soft baits, spinner baits, and these can be broken down into even further categories in the top water, mid-range, and bottom. I'll show you a few of each. So this would be considered a hard bait and a top water bait. This is the line tie where you tie your line to it. These are the hooks. This particular bait would sit on top of the surface, walk back and forth, and the fish would come from underneath it and hit it on top. That's some of the funnest fishing you can do. An example of a mid-range would be a smaller crankbait. You can tell by the size of the lip that it would dive to 6 or 7 feet. And then a bottom style bait would be even a larger crankbait, the bigger lip. This one could get down to 20 plus feet. So on the soft baits, as you can notice, none of these have hooks in them. They usually come in a pack, 8 to 10. You'll have a hook and a weight of some sort tied to your line. That's called the terminal tackle. The soft plastic baits are designed to eventually tear up and you just replace them on the hook. So this would be an example of a topwater soft plastic bait. This would be a mid-range, a swimming style bait. And then this would be a bottom style bait, a worm that would bounce on the bottom. A couple different types of spinner baits. This is a willow leaf spinner bait. It's usually just a hook with a lead head, some wire type of frame, and then any kind of combination of blades. As you reel it through the water, the blades spin, give off flash and vibration. That's what attracts the fish. A topwater bait in that style would be a buzz bait. Same type, wire, blade, skirt, except this was designed to run across the top of the water. Makes a racket, aggravates the fish, and they come and eat it. Another option would be live bait. You can use anything from shiners, worms, crickets, even crawfish are an option. So lastly, and what I feel is the most important component of having fun while fishing is having a positive attitude. Having a positive attitude while fishing is crucial to having a good time. If you become hung up on catching and not enjoying your time spent fishing, you're destined to aggravation and disappointment. So fishing is a great way to relax, connect with nature. I've spent hours without getting a single bite and still find ways to enjoy my time on the water. Some of my best thinking is done in the boat by myself. If you learn to enjoy the moment, then catching a fish will just be the icing on the cake. So today I've shown you 3 basic things needed to have fun while fishing. I've shown you some rod and reel basics. I've shown you several different styles of baits. And I've shown you the importance of maintaining a positive attitude. I've noticed while watching your introductory speeches that many of you share my love for the outdoors. So this information may have been old news for a lot of you, but hopefully some of y'all found it interesting. My hope is that you may give fishing a try and that you'll find it to be as much fun as I have.
Awesome.